Sarah's sister was getting married on a Saturday in June. It was meant to be lovely, resplendent even, the sort of wedding that gets written about in the society pages where everything is precisely orchestrated and everyone plays their part. Sarah had a different script in mind. Kyle, the groom, was a pleasant enough guy, really, successful, handsome, the sort of guy that parents describe as a good catch. But he'd been lying to Eleanor for the 3 years they'd been together. Not about money, not about his feelings, about his identity. You see, Kyle had a wife. Well, not a current wife, technically. They'd been divorced for 5 years. But she was very much a real person, and she was someone Eleanor knew nothing about. Sarah knew because she'd met Kyle's ex-wife at a coffee shop, of all places. She'd recognized the woman from photos on social media, had pieced together the timeline, and realized that Kyle had carefully edited his life story to begin the day he met Eleanor. Sarah had told her sister. Eleanor hadn't believed her. Eleanor had accused her of being jealous, of trying to sabotage her happiness, of making up stories to feel important. So Sarah had gone to the ex-wife and explained the situation, asking for her permission to speak. "Will it stop the wedding?" the ex-wife had asked. "No," Sarah said. "She won't believe me. She doesn't want to believe me, but I have to try." The ex-wife had given her blessing, and more than that, she'd given her documentation. The wedding ceremony was beautiful. Eleanor looked radiant in that way brides do, certain that her life was about to begin, that this was the threshold between who she'd been and who she was going to become. Kyle looked happy. He looked like someone who'd successfully buried something and didn't expect it to be exhumed. At the reception, after the toasts, after the cake was cut, after the dancing had begun in earnest and everyone was pleasantly filled with wine, Sarah stood up. The band stopped playing, and everyone looked at her. "I have something I need to say," she said quietly. "I know this isn't traditional. I know I'm not supposed to be saying anything, but I promised myself I'd do this, and I'm going to do it." Eleanor's face went pale. She already knew. 3 years ago, Sarah continued, my sister met a man, a charming man, a man who'd told her that he'd never been married before, that he was starting fresh, that she was the first real thing he'd had. She looked at Kyle. He'd gone quite pale, suggesting he understood exactly what was about to happen. That wasn't true. He had been married for 9 years. Kyle here has an ex-wife, a woman he has children with, children that Eleanor doesn't know about. The crowd gasped. Someone dropped a glass. "I know what you're all thinking. I'm terrible. I'm destroying a wedding. I'm humiliating people. And you're right, I am. But Eleanor deserves to know who she married before she makes promises in front of everyone she loves." She pulled out her phone. She'd prepared for this. She'd downloaded copies of his divorce decree, his custody documentation, a photograph of him with his children from 3 months ago. "These are public records," she said. But he didn't want Eleanor to see them. He wanted her to believe a version of him that didn't include anyone else. He wanted her to walk into this marriage without all the information. Eleanor stood up. Her face was cycling through denial, fury, heartbreak. "Is this true?" she asked Kyle. He didn't answer. He couldn't. There was nothing to say that would make this better. Sarah sat down. She'd done what she came to do. The rest was theirs to navigate. What happened next happened very quickly. Eleanor went to the bathroom and came back with her wedding shoes in her hand. She looked at Kyle once, and the clarity in her expression said everything. She walked out of the reception without another word. The family descended into chaos. Kyle's family tried to defend him. Eleanor's family was divided between gratitude to Sarah and fury that she'd done it so publicly. The ex-wife texted Sarah, "Thank you," and also, "I'm sorry you had to be the one to do this." Sarah didn't feel triumphant. She felt tired. She'd been trying to protect her sister for 3 years, and it had taken humiliation at her own wedding for Eleanor to see what she'd been trying to tell her. The divorce was finalized within 6 months. Eleanor, it turned out, had a very good lawyer of her own. She learned that Kyle had done this before with another woman 10 years back. He'd also hidden a previous marriage from her. It was a pattern, an established pattern of selective honesty. Eleanor moved back in with her parents for a while. She went to therapy. She learned how to trust her instincts again, because her instincts had actually been right the entire time. She'd felt something was off about him. She'd pushed those feelings away because she wanted the story to be true more than she wanted to see what was actually there. Kyle, meanwhile, had to face the consequences of his dishonesty. His current relationship imploded. His ex-wife took him back to court over custody arrangements, citing his pattern of deception as evidence of his unreliability. His reputation in his professional circle took a hit. A year later, Sarah ran into Kyle at the supermarket. He looked smaller than he had at the wedding. "I've thought a lot about what you did," he said. "I've thought about how angry I was at you, how I convinced myself you were jealous and destructive." "And now?" Sarah asked. "Now I realize I gave you no choice. I lied to someone you love. You told her the truth. The fact that it was painful doesn't make it wrong." He paused. "I'm in therapy. I'm trying to understand why I do this, why I keep thinking I can bury parts of my life and start over. The therapist says it's because I'm running from myself, that you can't actually do that." Sarah felt something soften in her. "I hope you figure it out, for your children's sake if nothing else." Eleanor, as it happens, is doing quite well. She's built a life of her own. She's dating someone who's been entirely forthcoming about his past. She's learned to trust both her instincts and her friends. And she thanked Sarah at last year's Christmas dinner, in front of everyone. "You humiliated me in front of 300 people," she said, "and you saved me from a lifetime of being lied to by someone I thought I could trust. I'm grateful. I wish I hadn't needed the humiliation to see it, but I'm grateful." Sarah squeezed her sister's hand. "That's all I wanted, for you to see."